Get out, Margaret. You have no place here. I froze, the words slicing through me sharper than any knife. Rain pelted the driveway outside, soaking me as the heavy front door slammed behind me. My suitcase, packed with cold efficiency, sat at my feet. I stared at the grand home I had shared with my son, Nathan, brick by brick, memory by memory. Move her, she snapped, and the two men flanking her approached. Not family, not friends, just muscle, professional and indifferent. I didn't resist. I couldn't. My heart was tethered to the library, to Nathan's armchair by the window, to the shelves we had built ourselves, every book a fragment of his mind, his soul. Her name was Vanessa, my daughter-in-law, and she held more than $100 million in assets now. Yet it wasn't the money that stung, it was her triumph, her complete erasure of me from our lives. As I was pushed toward the rain-slicked street, flashes of our past assaulted me. Nathan, at 16, excitedly showing me the foundation sketches for the brownstone we renovated together. Our evenings spent restoring oak beams, hunting for rare first editions, dreaming of the life he would build. All of it dismissed in a heartbeat. I stumbled into the taxi that waited, soaked, suitcase clutched to my chest. The Beacon Motel, grim and quiet, was my refuge. I sank onto the coarse bedspread, the dim lamp casting a yellow glow over photographs, a sweater Nathan had given me. The phone rang. Mr. Reynolds, the family lawyer, appeared on the screen. "Margaret," he said, voice grave but careful, "I need to explain something about Nathan's will. You didn't see everything." My pulse raced. "What do you mean?" "I was there. I heard the reading. That was only the surface. Nathan left instructions, a contingency clause. But they couldn't be revealed until the test played out, until Vanessa revealed her true self." I swallowed hard. He anticipated this. He saw her for what she is. Yes. He called it the character test. He wanted to protect both you and his legacy. Vanessa's actions triggered the condition Nathan planned for. He knew she would act with cruelty, and he made sure there would be consequences. I gripped the phone as if it were a lifeline. Anger mingled with grief, but beneath it, a spark of clarity ignited. Nathan had foreseen everything. He had trusted me to see it through. The memory of Vanessa's smirk, the cold efficiency in her voice as she counted her winnings, filled me with resolve. This wasn't over. She might have claimed the house, the money, the company, but she hadn't seen Nathan's final move. She hadn't anticipated the secret he left behind, one that could undo her, protect the family, and vindicate the love between a mother and her son. I rose from the bed, suitcase beside me, and felt the icy clarity settle into my bones. The storm wasn't just outside. It was inside me now, and it would guide the reckoning to come. "Margaret, you understand what this means, don't you?" Mr. Reynolds' voice was low, urgent, almost conspiratorial over the crackle of the motel line. I gripped the edge of the worn desk in my room at the Beacon Inn, my knuckles white. "What does it mean?" I asked, though a part of me already suspected. "It means Nathan didn't leave you powerless. There's a second document, a hidden will, a contingency he prepared. And now the timing has come." My chest tightened, a mix of disbelief, sorrow, and a sudden spark of hope. Nathan hadn't just built his company, amassed his fortune, and designed his empire. He had foreseen Vanessa, had planned a way to test her, and now I held the other piece of the puzzle. "Stay completely off the radar," Mr. Reynolds continued. "No calls, no emails, no social interactions. Vanessa must believe she's won, that you are defeated. Only then will the full plan take effect." I leaned back, staring at the peeling paint on the ceiling, the shadows stretching across the faded wallpaper. For the first time in days, I didn't feel like a victim. Nathan had entrusted me with the next move. "And what exactly do I do, Mr. Reynolds?" I will freeze all her accounts and assets under legitimate legal procedures, he explained. By all appearances, she remains the queen of the estate, but without a treasury. Frustration will follow. Desperation will set in. That is when your role begins. I hung up, hands trembling. The soft glow of the phone on the nightstand felt like a torch in the darkness. Nathan had left me a strategy. I had to be patient, silent, and resolute. That night, in a cheap motel room smelling of damp carpet and stale air, I felt a weight lift. I was no longer helpless, I was Nathan's guardian of legacy, his executor in all but name. For 3 days, I followed every instruction. I didn't answer calls. I didn't leave my room. To Vanessa, I had vanished. The streets of Back Bay watched her assume the role of the grand heiress, unaware that every step was part of Nathan's meticulous game. On the first day, Vanessa paraded through boutiques, demanding hold orders for hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of handbags, designer shoes, and watches. She treated the stores as if they were her personal vault, smiling arrogantly at every clerk who dared to suggest limits. The second day, she stormed into a luxury car dealership in the seaport. She pointed at a crimson Ferrari and insisted it be held immediately, confident her accounts were limitless. A deposit was placed, yet she assumed full ownership. The salesman handed her a keychain with a congratulatory smile, oblivious to the storm about to descend. By the third evening, Vanessa threw a grand celebration at Nathan's brownstone, DJ, caterers, champagne, lavish canapés. The halls echoed with laughter, new faces, opportunists drawn by her aura of wealth. I am the sole heir, she proclaimed repeatedly. Everything is mine. A guest dared to ask about me. And your mother-in-law? They inquired. Vanessa feigned a haughty sigh. Poor woman couldn't handle it. Nursing home, I hear. Such a fragile creature. She never fit into this world. From the Beacon Inn, I heard Mr. Reynolds' voice in discreet updates. Vanessa, blinded by her own ego, was falling exactly as Nathan had anticipated. On the fourth day, the first cracks appeared. At a boutique cafe, she swiped her card for an overpriced latte and pastry. Declined, the cashier said. Swipe after swipe, the cards refused her. Panic flared in her eyes, though pride held her voice steady. She called the bank in rage, only to hear a rehearsed, calm explanation: the accounts were frozen pending evaluation. Routine, legal, standard. Vanessa's grip on reality wavered. She returned to the brownstone, furious, only to be stopped by a process server delivering a court injunction. The library demolition halted. The Ferrari deposit expired, the car sold to another buyer. Suppliers demanded immediate payment. Her empire of one, previously untouchable, was crumbling. She roamed the house, touching photos of Nathan and me, childhood snapshots, holidays, family fishing trips, and tore them down in frustration. The mansion, once vibrant with laughter, now stood silent, a mausoleum of her hubris. By the fifth day, her isolation was complete. Party guests vanished, vendors ignored her calls, and friends refused to answer texts. Desperate, she scoured Boston, knocking on doors, visiting acquaintances. Every inquiry ended the same way: we haven't seen Margaret. Nobody would betray the plan. I remained at the motel, calm, reading a history book Nathan had loved. Mr. Reynolds checked in. She's frantic. Pride shattered. Soon, desperation will lead her to the final move. I nodded, absorbing the rhythm of the plan Nathan had crafted with a mind like a chess master. The moment would come, and it would be on his terms, not hers. When Vanessa finally arrived at Mr. Reynolds' office, she was unrecognizable, makeup smudged, blazer wrinkled, posture defeated. I demand access, she cried. I am the heir. I am entitled. Reynolds remained composed. Do you truly understand the full extent of Nathan's will? Vanessa hesitated, confusion etching her face. Reynolds produced a black envelope, sealed with Nathan's personal signet. He set it on the table slowly, deliberately. This is the codicil, he said, voice steady, to Nathan Vance's last will and testament. It activates only if the heir shows contempt toward Margaret or fails to protect the family's legacy. By doing so, everything in the first document becomes void. The estate, the company, the assets, everything, returns to the Vance Legacy Trust. Vanessa recoiled. That can't be. Nathan left me everything. Reynolds' gaze didn't waver. He left you a test. You failed. And now the consequences are real. I stepped into the room, wearing the navy blue suit from Nathan's wedding. Vanessa's eyes widened, terror overtaking arrogance. The envelope was torn open, a single sheet of Nathan's handwriting lay bare the verdict. Every word reflected his foresight, his care, and his strategy to protect the family and his mother. Silence filled the room. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. The message was clear. Nathan had played the final move, and now, I held the key. Vanessa trembled, broken. I stood tall, calm, and resolute. Nathan had trusted me. He had planned for everything. And now, justice would follow, quietly but inevitably, on his terms. Margaret felt the room tilt around her as Mr. Reynolds spoke, his tone measured, almost reverent. Margaret, the sole administrator and custodian of Nathan's trust is you. Her hands trembled, gripping the edge of the office chair. She could barely breathe. Nathan had left her everything, not as a reward for herself, but as a shield for the legacy they had built together. Vanessa slammed her palms on the polished oak table, her voice sharp and incredulous. No. That can't be. That fortune belongs to me. I'm his wife. Mr. Reynolds tapped the table lightly, emphasizing the clause that would define her fate. Vanessa, you will receive only a monthly stipend of $3,000, contingent upon verifiable employment. Should you refuse to work, the trust is released from all obligation to you. Silence enveloped the room like a physical weight. Vanessa's face went pale, her breath coming in shallow, unsteady gasps. Margaret, by contrast, felt her spine straighten, the burden of weeks of grief lifting slightly. For the first time in many long days, she met her daughter-in-law's gaze calmly. Vanessa couldn't. The arrogance had drained from her, leaving only defeat, the trap her own greed had built closing in around her. Mr. Reynolds placed the document into a leather folder. This, ma'am, is Nathan's final will. The law upholds it completely. Vanessa shook with fury. This is a trap. A setup. Margaret took a slow step forward, her voice firm but serene. No, Vanessa. This isn't a trap. It's justice. The air hung heavy as Vanessa's tears fell freely. The illusion she had constructed over a few short days, luxury, power, invincibility, crumbled with the weight of a single document. She staggered from the office as though an invisible force had struck her, while the city outside continued its indifferent rhythm, horns blaring, street vendors calling, pedestrians weaving through the chaos. But for Vanessa, it all seemed distant, muted. She sank into her SUV, fingers trembling over her phone. Each swipe delivered more bad news. Designers demanded payment for cancelled projects, dealerships confirmed she'd lost deposits, caterers threatened lawsuits, and friends who had toasted with her just days ago had now blocked her on every social channel. Everything was unraveling. In desperation, Vanessa dialed a socialite friend, someone she had once paraded down Newbury Street beside. The line connected, and the reply was icy. Vanessa, I don't want any trouble. Don't call me. The click of the phone felt like a physical blow. She slammed it down and pounded the steering wheel in fury. Meanwhile, Margaret returned to her modest motel room with a mixture of sorrow and relief. She had witnessed Vanessa's fall but felt no glee, only the steady, quiet satisfaction of seeing her son's foresight unfold. Nathan, even in death, had orchestrated justice. That night, Margaret reviewed Nathan's instructions. He had anticipated Vanessa's arrogance, her ambition, her inevitable collapse. But he had also prepared something far greater than revenge, a foundation. The Vance Technology Foundation, designed to provide scholarships, coding programs, and educational opportunities for underserved youth. The frozen millions were just a tool, the real inheritance was the chance to transform lives. Margaret pored over diagrams, calculations, and neighborhood maps Nathan had prepared, the magnitude of his plans settling in her mind. Vanessa, by contrast, had descended into frantic attempts to salvage her lifestyle. She haggled in consignment shops, selling jewelry and designer bags, while the city watched her transformation from opulent widow to struggling employee. Margaret understood the lesson Nathan had intended. Wealth alone was fleeting, influence and purpose were enduring. The humiliation Vanessa endured was necessary to learn the value of honest work, the dignity of effort, the reality of consequences. Soon, Vanessa appeared in public pleading, but it was futile. She came to Margaret in a plaza near Trinity Church, the bells tolling for evening service. Swollen-eyed, exhausted, humiliated, she dropped to her knees. "Margaret, please, help me. I didn't know it would end like this." Margaret remained seated on the bench, calm, unwavering. "This isn't about me, Vanessa. It's about Nathan. And you betrayed his trust." Vanessa's sobs echoed through the plaza. "I'll do anything. Anything you want. Just don't leave me destitute." Margaret felt a twinge of pity but remembered her son's words, justice was not cruelty, it was consequence. She leaned down and whispered, "Nathan's justice isn't about taking from you. It's about teaching you what you never understood, the value of work, integrity, and responsibility." Vanessa's tears streaked her face as Margaret rose and walked toward the church. The bells rang louder, sealing her words. Outside, life continued, cars, pedestrians, vendors, but for Vanessa, every step forward was a reminder of the lesson she had to learn. The following morning, Vanessa arrived at a Starbucks downtown, humility etched into every line of her face. "Do you have any openings?" she asked, swallowing her pride. The manager, a young woman with a green apron, nodded. "We can use help. Training starts now." And so the widow who had once driven luxury SUVs became a barista, serving cappuccinos and wiping tables, every action a lesson in patience, diligence, and humility. The city whispered, recognizing her fall, but Margaret watched from a distance with serenity. This was Nathan's vision realized, not vengeance, but transformation. Meanwhile, Margaret carried Nathan's final instructions close. One afternoon, Mr. Reynolds presented her with a sealed envelope, to be opened only once Vanessa had confronted the consequences of her greed. Inside, a letter in Nathan's handwriting revealed the ultimate truth: Margaret was not only the administrator of the trust, she was the lifelong president of the foundation. No board, no lawyer, no outsider could remove her. At her age, when she had imagined only quiet days ahead, Margaret found herself entrusted with a mission greater than she could have anticipated. The grief she had carried transformed into resolve. She was the guardian of Nathan's legacy, tasked with building a future where talent and opportunity could flourish. Vanessa, meanwhile, tried one final desperate maneuver, meeting a lawyer in secret, offering what little cash she had to dismantle the trust. But Nathan had foreseen this too. Every legal attempt was blocked. Every move she made only emphasized the integrity of his planning. The press eventually amplified the story. Headlines across Boston celebrated the protection of Nathan's legacy and revealed Vanessa's failed manipulations. The public judgment was swift, the social circles that had once embraced her now avoided her gaze. Margaret inaugurated the first branch of the Vance Technology Foundation in Roxbury. Young students crowded around new computers, eyes bright with hope. Standing before them, Margaret spoke steadily. Nathan dreamed of a future where talent isn't wasted. Today, we begin to make that dream real. The applause was thunderous. Margaret's eyes glistened as she looked at the children, the proof that Nathan's legacy was alive. Vanessa remained in her barista uniform, learning the meaning of honest labor, understanding for the first time the balance Nathan had demanded: respect, effort, and accountability. Margaret, once cast out with nothing but a suitcase and sorrow, now held a mission that mattered. She whispered to Nathan's photograph each night, "You did it. Your justice was served, and your vision lives on." There was no bloody revenge, no spectacle of humiliation, only justice, purpose, and legacy. Vanessa learned the value of labor and humility. Margaret learned that a son's true inheritance is not wealth, but the responsibility and mission he entrusts to those who carry on his vision. Today, the foundation flourishes, doors open where there were once only walls, and Nathan's dream endures. Every act, every challenge, every choice reflected the values Nathan held dear: patience, integrity, and the transformative power of opportunity. And Margaret, the quiet architect of it all, embraced her role fully, proud to turn tragedy into hope.